Okay, so today we have Morrissey and Zoom Zoom the Little Boy. Now, this might be the most fun title, anyway, that I've reacted to from this album so far. But, of course, last week, I did not do a Morrissey reaction. I did not do a couple videos last week because I was sick. I think it's just because of my job where I work with children and usually they're carrying, some kind of sickness. But anyway, I'm back this week. We got Zoom Zoom the Little Boy. I said the week prior to last one that I was excited for this just by the title. So let's finally get into it. Talk about it after. Here we go. My goodness. Hold up.
Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. He wants to save everything he can from the horrible woman and man. Every paw, every claw of the land is an outstretched loving hand. He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs and the badgers and the hedgehogs. He wants to save the cows and the sheep and the squiggles of the deep and the fox with the butterflies eyes. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. He wants to save every animal from the arrogant human. Every paw, every claw of the land is an outstretched loving hand. He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs and the badgers and the hedgehogs. He wants to save the cows and the sheep and the squiggles of the deep and the fox with the butterflies eyes.
Oh my God. Hold up.
He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs and the badgers and the hedgehogs. He wants to save the cows and the sheep and the squiggles of the deep and the fox with the butterflies eyes.
What the hell? Was that a bark or a growl at the... What the hell? All right. Morrissey, Zoom Zoom the Little Boy. I said that I was excited to listen to this just by the title. Zoom Zoom. I mean, what the hell? I don't think has that ever been put in Morrissey's title. Not just once, but twice. And this is not Morrissey-esque at all. And the whole album that I've heard so far of Makeup Is a Lie, this being the seventh track, so now I've listened to 7. The previous 6 were not this flamboyant, could I say? Were not this upbeat. I mean, some songs were upbeat, but some of them were kind of haunting. Some of them were very big and grandiose, whatever. I think again about Monsters of Pig Alley or whatever. They're very deep and they're spooky, scary, whatever. But with this one, so that's why I'm thinking right off the bat, with these lyrics, I mean, it's just like this kid, and it's Morrissey talking about himself. I mean, obviously he's an animal rights activist, advocate, whatever you want to say, and he's he stopped concerts because he smelled meat cooking or whatever one time, and all these different things. So I think, is he talking about himself and how maybe one day, and this only comes to mind because it's Morrissey, and he always has some kind of dark humor, or he always has at some point something where reality kicks in, where one day this boy will grow up and realize that what he's doing, where he's trying to save all of these things, I mean, it could be possible, but a lot of other people don't care, but what this kid cares about. So is this kid always going to have that drive? And hopefully he does. But I know it's just a song, whatever, but there are obviously real kids out there who care about animals. But anyway, that all just comes in my head. I was just waiting for at the end or something for Morrissey to say, but one day he found out the rest of the world doesn't care, or whatever the fuck, but it never came. So that was fun. And that's why I say it's just so not Morrissey-esque. But I love it anyway, because it comes from a real place, and I feel like Morrissey talking about this, like I said, he's an animal rights guy, and he's been a vegan for how long? Like since the 80s, I do believe. He turned, of course, Johnny Marr, and I think the rest of the band as well, to vegetarianism or whatever. Anyway, but so it's something he could obviously write about well, and it's something that I like as well, as a vegetarian myself for 9 years, and not because of Morrissey, but he's obviously helped. I mean, the whole meat is murder thing behind me, it's not just there because I like the album and whatever. It's something I could dig with Morrissey. But anyway, this is just nuts. I'm just going on because it sounded so kid friendly, and that's what I like, because I mean, it's called Zoom Zoom the Little Boy, and I mean, we're talking about the little boys in the title, and you can picture this little boy zooming to catch the animals or whatever and save them, whatever you want to say, and like I said, it sounded so kid friendly. It sounded almost novel in a way, and like not in a bad way. I mean, it just sounded so neat. It sounded fun. It sounded like I said, upbeat already, and just, I guess fun is the right word to say there, but then you had the bass part at one point as well, where the bass was just the only thing happening, and I was like, hold on, I mean, what is the song? I was just so taken aback the whole way through. I can't believe it. And from what I've read too, people have said that, this song, from, again, what I've read, people say this song caught them off guard, or was a song where they had to stop and say, hold up, this is a different vibe than the rest of the album so far, and I just can't get over it. Holy moly. But at the same point, it was just a bundle of joy. I mean, he talks about the kid being joyful. The song was obviously joyful too. And I'm just surprised that there was never a turn. Never really took a dark turn. Which I like though. So, you can kind of come out of it thinking, oh, it's great. Everything's great anyway. But then again, you think about the real world, and you think about what's happening, whatever, or I mean, again, how people are trying to save animals, but obviously animals are still going extinct, and not always going to be. You're not always going to have the enthusiasm of this kid, and when you grow up, maybe that enthusiasm goes away. But either way, I was just so fucking surprised. I can't believe it. Usually I know what to say, but like I said, and I've seen, just looking at some different ways people have described the song. Some people say it is like a children's song or a nursery rhyme, and that's what I'm saying. It's so kid friendly, and you could feel like, I don't know if kids would enjoy this. I mean, I don't have kids of my own or whatever the hell, but it's just, there's something about it in that way where it has that adolescent feel to it, that adolescent joy to it. There was also a sitar on it as well, if that's how you say it. I think that's how you say that, but I saw it in the personnel, and you could hear that come through very well too, prominently, near just the beginning of the track already, and I was just like, this is such a different vibe. This is so different from what I've already heard from Morrissey. So anyway, and I feel like Morrissey, was it on this album or something else, where he talked about somebody saving something, or, I mean, there's lifeguard on duty, but I feel like there's something more recently where I reacted to, and he was talking about, saving stuff again, but anyway, maybe I'm just out of my mind. But let's look at the personnel here. I've talked about these guys the last few weeks, of course, ever since I started doing this album, but here we go again. Want to give them their due once more. And the melody too, just looking here at Morrissey on vocals, lyrics, and vocal melodies, the melody of the song, it's so easy to bob your head along to it. Again, everything about it is just easy breezy. I can't get over it. I always have a problem where I just keep over explaining things, but fuck, it's nuts. Anyway, Camilla Gray on keyboards and programming. Again, this is for the whole album. And I'm trying to pick out the people who are specifically on this track. Carmen Vanderberg, of course, on electric guitar. And as we go on here, my goodness gracious, Juan Galliano, I can't remember how to see his last name, but I think it's something like that. Juan, though, was on bass. And like I said, the bass guitar, where that came in so thuddingly, and almost there was maybe like an echo or some kind of feel over it. Anyway, but Juan was obviously huge at that part. That was fun. I love a good bass part. Brendan Buckley on drums, Jesse Tobias on electric guitar as well. He was doing the electric sitar, though, on this track. So Jesse was going all the way on this one, too. He was a very important part of it. And Alan White is on electric guitar. I just love to hear Alan White. I go on about it all the time. But I love hearing Alan and Morrissey back together here. And backing vocal, Karen Ann. I would say there. Karen is spelled Keren, but I think it's spelled Karen there. But either way, great backing vocals too behind Morrissey. And the way Morrissey comes in with the zoom, it's almost like he's rolling his Zeds, if you can do that. And that took me by surprise too. And he sounds jolly, he sounds upbeat, he sounds strong. And so yeah, right away, I was just like, what is happening to my ears? But let's get into these lyrics now. I guess they're not very complicated, I don't think. You kind of understand everything. That's another thing I feel like a nerd. That's another thing where they're very easy to take in, these lyrics anyway. It's just so different from what I've heard from a lot of Morrissey's stuff, but this is a great little change. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. Hello. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. Again, and it's like, okay, we understand that right away. He seems very joyful, that's all. He wants to save everything he can from the horrible woman and man. And I don't know if he was like the horrible woman and man, is that his parents, or is he just saying the horrible woman and man as in the people around the world who treat, these animals poorly or treat our earth poorly. I mean, my God, every paw, every claw of the land is an outstretched loving hand. And again, that's what he sees from every animal. Every claw, every paw he sees is a loving claw and paw. And to him anyway. And I mean, obviously not all animals are always loving and all that stuff, but at the same point, he wants to save all of these animals. Who wants to save the cats? He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs. And when this came in, again, it's just like, this could be a nursery rhyme. And I feel like, if some people probably have listened to this thinking, what is this? Maybe people say it's not good, whatever, the lyricism. But to me, it's just so, it's such easy rhyming. It's so catchy. I can't get over it. I liked it a lot. And the badgers and the hedgehogs, it's like he wants all of them to be saved. He wants to save the cows and the sheep and the squiggles of the deep, and the fox with the butterfly's eyes. And, just to talk about, naming some animals there in a very catchy way. Zoom, zoom, the little boy, he only thinks about joy. And that's repeated again, as we've heard earlier. He wants to save every animal from the arrogant human. There you go there. He talks about, again, in this child's eyes, how the arrogance of the human being who doesn't seem to care about these animals or every claw or paw. And maybe these arrogant humans did back in the day, but now they've grown up and they're like, nobody cares about that anymore. Because some people do keep their whimsy, but some people do grow up. And they do just say, you can't think about those things anymore. You're an adult now, whatever. I mean, I know these things, but, I've heard these things, but, anyway, this, obviously a child's mind is very different. He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs. That's gone on again. And, I can't get over how catchy that is. And then, it's at the end again, the same parts. He wants to save the cats and the dogs and the bats and the frogs and the badgers and the hedgehogs. He wants to save the cows and the sheep and the squiggles of the deep. And the fox with the butterfly's eyes. And like I said, I only thought about, negativity at the end because, I'm just thinking, the other side of this whole thing is where, this kid may not be able to save all of these animals, like he thinks he can or whatever. But still, the song ends off on a, positive note. Anyway, it's positive the whole way through. So this was just a fun little thing to me. I really enjoyed this. From the get-go. Did not know didn't know what I was going to get into. Like I said, the title was already intriguing. And it was just a fun, catchy track. And again, I don't know if this is like Morrissey, how he was as a kid. He wanted to save these animals, but he went somewhere on this one. He went to a different place in this one. So next week, the next track I do believe is, if I can go up on the track list here after this Zoom Zoom the Little Boy, The Night Pop Dropped. Another song that I've heard good things about. So, we're going to see that next week and talk about that next week. But this week now, today, was fun as hell. So thanks for watching. I bit my tongue as I was talking, of course, but thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, all those different things. Real appreciate all the support. glad to be back this week with Morrissey. So I'll talk to you guys again soon, and have a good day, Friday, whatever day it is for you when you watch this. Yeah.